We're going to end this video tonight. I'm Dave Rudin, and I'm here with Scott Erickson of, how do I introduce you now? Game Time, Sanford Advocate, Hearst, Connecticut, Conglomerate. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. I always love this night.
We haven't seen you in a while, so I know we're just getting into our previews here. We're starting to get a feel for the league. Anything that catches your attention so far?
I think there's a few more teams at the top that could be competitive this year. It could be 4 or 5 teams up there. I think the middle of the pack is still the middle of the pack, and the teams at the bottom are still the teams at the bottom, unfortunately. But I think the league is going to be more competitive, especially with Greenwich, New Canaan, Darien, St. Joe, and then maybe if you throw in Richfield or Trumbull or some other team like Norwalk or somewhere else, it could be a dark horse.
Those you mentioned right now, at least, and will probably be proved wrong. I would say right now that's those are the teams to look at. I mean, we're going to vote for the state poll pretty soon. Do you have any idea who you're going to vote number one? You want to?
Yeah, I'm probably going to vote Darien number one because they're the defending champions. Until you knock them off, they're the number one team in my opinion. If you're the reigning champs 3 years in a row, you've earned that. And for me, I think there could be teams maybe this year that are better on paper coming in, but if you're the defending state champ 3 years running, you're undefeated. Well, sorry you're not undefeated, but you are state champs that long. Exactly. You deserve the number one vote again, and that's probably who I'll vote.
And it's interesting because, and this will be a little good motivation for Darien, but of the top 4 teams, a lot of people seem to be putting them number 4 right now, which I know Rob Trifone and those guys like very much. I don't know how. I mean, they're 4 good teams. They're probably 4 top 10 teams, maybe even higher than that, so it's really hard to break down. I mean, I probably am going to go either New Canaan or Greenwich number 1, and I haven't decided yet, but I mean, and they all play each other. That's what's going to be great. They all play each other, so you're going to have with New Canaan and Double L, you're going to have New Canaan, Darien, Greenwich. One of those teams isn't getting to the state playoffs.
It's very possible, and Greenwich only plays New Canaan, I think, right? They don't play. Do they play Darien this year? Greenwich, Darien? I got to check the schedule, but I think...
But they all play each other at least once.
At least once. Yeah, and I think of all those teams, the other teams do play, they play St. Joe, too. You got to throw St. Joe in there. I think St. Joe is really dangerous, even though they're, a lower class team, in terms of the state classes. But, yeah, I mean, you want to say Darien's the 4th best team, someone's got to beat them first, so...
I can certainly, I can't argue that point.
Every year, it's, Rob says, we got nothing here, and then sure, you don't have nothing. Like, you got way more in the cupboard than most teams have.
I know I go to Vibe Fitness sometimes to see John Carlozzi, their strength and conditioning coach, and there are like 40 kids working nonstop. So if somebody's going to beat Darien, it's going to take some effort.
Yeah, and I think that opening game against Richfield is really interesting. Yeah. It was a couple years ago too, and Richfield certainly has some things they need to figure out on their side. But they're a team that can go and knock Darien off on that first day. Not saying that they are, but they're certainly capable of doing it, and especially if Darien has questions coming in at certain positions, because they lost a lot of really good kids. The
line's going to be the question marks, I think. Right. They lost a lot in their offensive and defensive lines. If their lines come through, they're going to be right in the mix as always.
Yeah, and they usually have kids that can fill those spots. They got big, strong kids. Those kids have been in the weight room since the season ended last year. So they lack experience, but they don't lack size and strength, and it's hard to make that up, and they're going to win a lot more games than they lose this year.
And then we're going to see, New Canaan, everybody's talking about the 4 commits, but the other 18 players by all accounts, are pretty good, and not just pretty good, but really good. And then Greenwich has so many people back, and they had 207 kids on the field the day I went out there. It was crazy.
That's insane. I mean, and you talk about that, they have 200 kids. Trinity's got 200 boys at their school. So, yeah, Greenwich is going to be really good again. Greenwich has a quarterback coming back. New Canaan obviously has a quarterback coming back. I think the New Canaan seniors are a group the coaches are really excited about over there, and a group that they've been excited about for a long time. So, look, they have to win. They got to come out and play these games. Last year they weren't ready to play against St. Joe the way they should have been. They lost another game. They played great against Darien, but then they fell in the state tournament, and that certainly wasn't what they were expecting or hoping for. So New Canaan's got to rebound from what they did last year, but I think the seniors they have, kids like Quentin O'Connell, they're just they're winning kids, you know what I mean, and great kids, and
they're motivated from last year.
They will be,
9-3 and getting to the state semis is good at a lot of places, but not New Canaan.
Well, you don't want to be the class that didn't win the championship. So that senior class last year was. This junior class certainly doesn't want to be the team that lost twice. So they got to play in Double L. They got to move up. They're going to face the big boys this year, and I think they'll be ready for it. I think it's a good year for them to move up.
St. Joe's goes up to Class M. That just means they're going to be a favorite in a different class probably this year.
I would think so. I think St. Joe is of the lower classes. I've been looking at some other teams, and there are some teams around the state that could certainly give them problems, the Bloomfields and Berlins of the world. But St. Joe has a quarterback coming back that is legitimate Division I caliber player. And when you have that under center or taking long snaps or whatever it is, that makes up a big difference. And I think they're really, really talented. I saw them 7-on-7, which is not always a great indicator, but they were sharp. I mean, really, really sharp there. So, yeah, I think St. Joe is definitely the top of the heap when you look at those at Class M this year.
And then the other storyline from the offseason is 7 new coaches. So there's going to be a lot of teams. There are a lot of teams it's just really hard to get a feel for. The middle class, how big is it, and how do you rank them? I'm finding that to be difficult right now.
I don't know. I mean, I think Norwalk's really young, but I think they have some really good talent there. West Hill brings back a few kids here and there. They lost both their lines, which is going to crush them. But they have some good talent.
Joey DeVella's taken over, and he did a great job as defensive coordinator.
And that situation could have been a mess with the coach leaving in the summer, but they filled that job quickly. They filled it in-house. The kids all really like Coach DeVella's. They bring back the quarterback, AJ Lacona. I think that we can see with Ward and Ludlow if they can make a push up a little bit. I think that'd be really good for the league if some of those teams can move up. If Trinity can get back to being a round to 500 team this year. They don't have very many kids, but they have some decent kids coming through. I like Ridgefield coming out of there, and like I said, Ridgefield can even.
Ridgefield's always good. I was up there. They may not,
and
they lost a lot, but they're still going to be good.
Wilton's the real question because, from what I understand, Wilton's got a ton of talent, but obviously a new coach and a new system, and everything's in place. So
it's going to take us time to feel out these new coaches and their philosophies and how they, how they coach their personnel.
And if the kids have bought into the system and all that, on paper, Wilton's got good talent. They should be, towards the top of that middle of the pack. I don't think anyone's really going to challenge those top teams for the FCIAC championship for what it is now, but you never know, but I doubt it.
Well, we're getting into podcast length here, and I think everybody liked that. No, and we could talk all day, and all the players had a good time. We're sort of bringing them all down right now, but I'm not going to do any predictions now. Let's just say your sleeper team. Who's your sleeper team that nobody's talking about right now? Or you don't think people are talking about?
I don't know if no one's talking about them, but I think Trumbull could be a team with Marsh there now, and a quarterback in place, and players in place, and a system in place. Where I think Trumbull could be a team that surprises people this year. I don't know if they're sneaking up on anybody, but people should be aware if Trumbull's in their schedule.
I think Trumbull's going to be really good. I think they're good. I watched them in practice, and their only problem is their schedule. They got the toughest schedule in the state and got to play all 4 of the top 4. I'm going to go with Norwalk. I think Ridgefield, Trumbull, Norwalk are that next top of the second tier, if that's where it is right now. But Norwalk's really young, but they got a lot of athletes out there, and they're going to be really, really dangerous next year. But I looked at their schedule, and I think they could have a really, really good season if the inexperience doesn't hurt them.
Certainly on paper, you never know how the games are going to play out, but on paper their schedule looks a lot more favorable than Trumbull's. Everyone's schedule looks more favorable than Trumbull's, but I think Trumbull could win a couple of those games too, or at least give those teams a really hard time. You never know what you're going to see, but I think they have the talent to win, and with Marsh there, I think that it invigorated that program, and I think he's excited again, to coach. Not that he wasn't excited to coach before, but you get back to your alma mater and you're coaching there. I think it rejuvenates you. I think it did.
Okay, well, we could talk about this forever, and I don't know if there's any pizzas left, so we should probably
there's no pizza
go inside. I got some pull here, so
good.
Signing off from Rudin Report Media Day here. Thanks a lot, Scott, for joining me.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks to Soleil and Mariano there, who do a great job as always with our videos, and look forward to seeing you all during the year.